Have your eyes ever shifted, or have you seen it in another? A flicker, a shimmer, the sense that for a moment you were staring at something not entirely human. They say the eyes are windows to the soul, but what if the eyes are windows to something else? Something ancient, something watching. If something hides behind a mask, the mask will slip, and the eyes will betray it. Tonight, we'll travel through folklore, myth, and modern encounters to explore a chilling question. What does it mean when the eyes shift? In Europe, the werewolf legends held fast to this belief. Peter Stube, the infamous werewolf of Bedburg, was said to become a ravenous beast at night. But his eyes never truly changed. They glowed with fire, sparks, visible in the dark, betraying his cursed state even when his body shifted form. A warning whispered through the countryside, "Watch the eyes, for they cannot lie." And farther north, the Inuit told of the Iraq, beings that could appear in any form at all, except the eyes. They were always wrong, always red, always sideways, glimpsed only in the corners of vision and gone when looked at directly. It was the eyes that told you what stalked you was not human. Irish folklore gives us the puka, a shadowy shapeshifter with eyes like embers, gleaming from whatever form it wears. The English countryside tells of the black dogs, their burning gaze following travelers across lonely roads at night. Their eyes glowed with an unearthly fire, the one sign they were not mere animals, but beings of the other world. And shamans across Mesoamerica told of the Nawal, a twin spirit, an animal self that could merge with its human master. Their power could be glimpsed in the eyes, glowing faintly, alive with astral fire. The lesson is old, and it echoes across continents. When the disguise is perfect, the eyes still betray. They burn, they flicker, they shimmer sideways, because the soul cannot lie. These are tales of monsters, but the philosophers and mystics too had their way of watching the eyes. Plato described vision as a fire issuing from the soul. Plotinus said the gaze is a radiance of being itself shining outward. The German Christian mystic Jacob Boehm believed the eyes are the spark of God within us, the surest sign of our inner essence. Mystics have often spoken of the eyes revealing when a soul has touched the higher fire, in the subtle blaze of inner transformation. A soul touched by this fire burns away ego, fear, and distraction, leaving a gaze that holds clarity, intensity, and profound light. Such eyes can mesmerize, drawing others into a wordless recognition, a soul-to-soul communion. They reflect compassion, intuition, and a perspective purified by the divine flow, seeing the world not through the lens of self, but with the quiet wisdom and acceptance of something greater. In that glance, the inner journey is written, and the silent fire that touched it glows for all who dare to look deeply. In the 16th century, the physician alchemist Paracelsus spoke of the eyes not as passive orbs, but as lanterns of force. He wrote that a magnetic current flowed through the human gaze, subtle yet potent, capable of stirring the soul or unsettling the body. In his vision, the eyes were instruments of fascinatio, a term that blended enchantment and influence. A healer, by fixing their eyes with purity of intent, could awaken vitality in the sick. But a sorcerer with malice in his stare could poison the spirit and bring wasting illness. The gaze, Paracelsus warned, was never neutral. It either gave life or stole it, revealing the inner fire of the one who wielded it. 2 centuries later, Franz Anton Mesmer carried this current into the drawing rooms of Enlightenment Europe, where Paracelsus spoke of magnetism in mystical tones. Mesmer clothed it in the language of science. He called it animal magnetism, a universal fluid that ebbed and flowed through all beings. Yet in practice, his greatest instrument was still the eye. Witnesses swore that under Mesmer's penetrating stare, they grew dizzy, fell into trances, even convulsed before awakening strangely renewed. To skeptics, it was performance or hysteria. To believers, it was proof of a hidden force, that the eyes could channel invisible currents as surely as a rod draws lightning. Paracelsus had whispered of fascination. Mesmer built a movement upon it. The eye shift is not just the tale of villagers or mystics. It follows us into the glow of television screens, into the high-definition clarity of modern media. In the late 20th century, when camcorders filled suburban homes, strange footage began to surface of pupils elongating, serpent-like, the iris flashing with color, a human gaze flickering, glitching, for just a frame, as though something slipped and the mask tore open. For years, internet sleuths have pointed to famous faces caught in the act. At a presidential debate in 2008, viewers swore they saw Barack Obama's pupils flash sideways for just a heartbeat. The clip was replayed frame by frame, whispered over on message boards. Was it lightning? Compression? or something slipping through. Justin Bieber once stood in a packed airport when fans claimed his eyes changed shape. Reptile slits for a second before returning to human roundness. Security rushed him away, but the stories multiplied. Queen Elizabeth was not spared the rumors. Old footage of her guard of honor, the camera catching what looked like vertical pupils under the brim of her hat. An artifact of shadow or revelation? Every recent president since George W. Bush has been accused of shapeshifting. In online Reddit threads, Donald Trump is accused of being a bone-deep reptile, an interdimensional being, that the very fabric of his gaze betrays something beyond human. So what are we seeing when the eyes shift? A flicker, a shimmer, a betrayal of the human mask. The answer depends on who you ask and what you fear. Some say they are reptilians, interdimensional beings, older than humanity, slipping into our bloodlines. Their eyes falter when the disguise can no longer hold. They rule by hunger, feeding on fear, keeping us docile as cattle in a pen. Others whisper of possession, not alien, but spirit, a body overtaken by entities that swim the astral dark. The eyes, the windows of the soul, cannot hide the guest within. For 1 second you see the intruder staring back at you through familiar flesh. There are those who insist on bloodlines, kings and presidents, pop stars and billionaires, all cousins in an ancient family tree. Their eyes shift not because of spirits or aliens, but because they are not entirely human. Hybrids, carrying forward the inheritance of Nephilim or Anunnaki. The slip of the eye is not possession, but inheritance. Then, some embrace it. For many mystics, shifting eyes are not corruption, but ascension, the soul breaking through the cage of flesh, touched by astral fire, a leveling up, a moment of illumination when the vessel cannot contain the light. Divine, not demonic. The technologists who believe life is a simulation call it a glitch, a rendering error in the code of reality. The mask slips because the program stuttered, and the system showed its hand. Science shrugs it off as fatigue, imagination, optical illusion. But deep down, when your stomach drops and your instincts scream, do you really believe it was just a trick of the light? So what then are we to make of those fleeting moments when a friend's eyes seem to glint with something inhuman? When the mirror shows a flicker of a stranger staring back? Were the mystics wrong to speak of astral fire? Or were they warning us all along that the transformation is real and it begins in the gaze. So, I ask you, have your eyes ever shifted? Have you seen it in another? And if so, was it the spark of God or the glint of the beast? The eyes shift and the truths cannot be unseen. This has been Occult Bedtime Stories, When the Eyes Shift. Good night.